So I asked this question on Twitter this week. This isn't a rhetorical question. How many people will Muslims have to slaughter in Europe before survival instincts outweigh fear of being called racist? I found the answer surprising to some degree. Many said several million. Many said 10% of any given native population. And many said it is just too late. Especially after seeing Germany practically overtaken by Muslims while the native population remains lulling and complacent, I've pondered this question extensively while I've been here. What we know for sure is that mass rape and sexual enslavement in Europe isn't enough to get people to fight back, and that native populations and police will go to extreme lengths, like charging 11-year-old white girls with drunk and disorderly for being sexually enslaved by Muslims, rather than face accusations of racism.
When the Rotherham report came out, it sort of gave credence to all the things we've been saying for years. Because I've had people say to me, I just didn't believe you. Because the horror stories are that mad, they're that bad, that you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't think this is happening in Britain. 5 Muslim men had an 11-year-old girl, a white English girl, in a derelict house, all abusing her. The police turned up as it was happening. They arrested her for drunk and disorderly.
So they're arresting the victims, and they're arresting the people trying to save the victims, all because they're scared to arrest Muslims?
It sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you put it out, it sounds insane. And it's actually come out from the people in the council and the police have said the reason was they were feared of being branded racist. The reason is you've got gangs and gangs and gangs of just completely Muslim men who are targeting specifically young white English girls. They're sitting outside schools, and there's a video of showing them pulling up next to the girls, offering them money, and it's a slow process. And yeah, due to political correctness, when people say how powerful is political correctness, it's that powerful that people stood by and watched young girls be raped.
So naturally, any one-off rape won't be enough to launch Europeans into action. Live streaming a rape, like we've seen recently in Sweden, isn't enough. We also know that periodic slaughter will not be enough, so long the events are far enough apart that the native population has time between to forget. Although populism is stirring in all of these countries, it is a wonder to me that none of these events, even in terms of cumulative effect, has caused native populations to form militias. After all, it isn't just the Rotherham police that sanctions Muslim crime for fear of being accused of racism. Peter Springar is a 47-year member of the Swedish police force. He recently began posting about the actual crimes that he has been investigating and revealed that nearly 100% of the police force's efforts are focused on crimes committed by Muslims. Here's what he said in his recent Facebook post. Quote, "Here we go. This is what I've handled from Monday to Friday this week. Rape, robbery, aggravated assault, rape, assault and rape, extortion, blackmail, assault, violence against police, threats to police, drug crime, drugs, attempted murder, rape again, extortion again, and ill treatment. The suspected perpetrators, Ali Muhammad, Mahmoud, Muhammad Ali, again. Christopher, what is it true? Yes, a Swedish name snuck in on the edges of a drug crime. Mahmoud Ali, again and again. Countries representing all the crimes this week. Iraq, Turkey, Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia. Syria again, Somalia, unknown country, Sweden. Half of the suspects we can't be sure because they don't have any valid papers, which in itself usually means that they're lying about their nationality and identity." Since his post, there's been an outpouring of support for this police officer. Dozens of bouquets of flowers were sent to him, which the police department attempted to ban from being photographed as they did not want the media or the general public to know that he had such wide and enthusiastic support. Further, at least one of his superiors in the police department has referred him to the special prosecutor's office. Others were not happy with the investigator's remark, calling him right-wing or even racist. The post was referred to the special prosecutor's office, which handles crime involving law enforcement, to see whether it violated police regulations, according to Swedish media. National Police Commissioner Dan Eliasson said it was important to distinguish what an officer does in the line of duty and outside of it. When he acts in his professional capacity, he should be extremely careful with issues of ethnicity. If he wants to talk about the problem of crime among immigrants in his spare time, he has the freedom of expression like any other. In a second post, Springar denied accusations of right-wing sympathies. Quote, "If you can't discuss the problem of crime among immigrants without somebody attributing it to racist propaganda, we're in deep trouble," he said. The problem is that nobody wants to talk about this. Much the same as in Rotherham, the general public and the police department want to blame not only those members of the general public that want to raise the alarm, but the native culture as well as the victims. And remember, we've seen this before. Celia Farber, a Swedish journalist, gave some insight into the disease of political correctness in Sweden on InfoWars earlier this week.
Why are the Swedes so susceptible to basically cultural mind control?
That's a great question. It's a rare, extreme society where they started the social engineering that you depict so brilliantly on your show. They mastered it here. They started it here. It started here in the 1950s.
It seems like it's a self-hate or a giving over of the will. I mean, really low crime, really nice people.
I want to say they're very decent, good, law-abiding, cautious, really decent people, but they're terrified of their shadow. They're terrified of being something. Political correctness is like the perfect catastrophe here because of atheism and Lutheranism and political correctness and socialism, social democracy, all these, it's like the perfect storm.
Like most Europeans, the Swedes are decent, law-abiding people that fear social alienation and are concerned over their reputation. When a Muslim rapes or murders a native European, there's no weight of responsibility on members of the general public. But there is an individual weight of judgment and responsibility if they are viewed as racist by their peers. And because of their conformist nature, this is a deeply uncomfortable position to be in that must be avoided at all costs. But every single European, and American for that matter, that cries racist rather than engage the underlying idea becomes increasingly personally responsible for each subsequent Muslim crime. How long will it take, or what will it take, for them to see that at some point there is blood on their hands? As it is now, this is a death by 1,000 cuts. It will be a slow bleed until Europe's last heartbeat, and if their death comes, it will be viewed historically as an incredibly predictable outcome of allowing Islam into Western societies. But it seems to me that only a few things will force Europeans to wake up and wholly reject Islam for the death cult that it is. A massive slaughter, for example. Not a few hundred people. Perhaps a stadium of 60,000 gets blown up, as was the intent of the 2015 Paris terrorist attacks. It is also possible that it may not be the number of deaths that wakes up Europeans, but who is killed. If royals or other public figures were killed by Islamists, this may have the same effect on the native population in terms of rejection of Islam as the death of tens of thousands. Of course, I hope that it doesn't come to this. But especially after witnessing this cultural suicide in Germany, it seems increasingly likely that it will. It seems that in the area of Germany that I'm in now, 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 people walking the streets is Muslim. The native Germans seem blissfully unaware, and they seem naive and very trusting. They just want to continue their daily business, and until that's affected in a meaningful way, I doubt they'll wake from their slumber. It is time for everyone to stop caring when they are called racist. Avoiding this accusation is not more important than preventing rapes and murders serially perpetrated by Muslims in every Muslim country and now in the Western world. And those that are too weak to let such an accusation roll off their back, or worse, perpetuate this accusation themselves, become increasingly responsible for the Islamification of their countries and their own cultural demise. We only deserve our countries if we are willing to defend the people within them and the underlying principles. And if we cannot conjure that will, then these nations and the people are already lost.